The New York Rangers are a professional ice hockey team based in New York City. The Rangers compete in the National Hockey League, NHL, as a member of the Metropolitan Division in the Eastern Conference. The team plays its home games at Madison Square Garden, an arena they share with the New York Knicks of the National Basketball Association, NBA. They are one of 3 NHL franchises located in the New York metropolitan area, the others being the New Jersey Devils and New York Islanders. Founded in 1926 by Tex Rickard, the Rangers are one of the original 6 teams that competed in the NHL before its 1967 expansion, along with the Boston Bruins, Chicago Blackhawks, Detroit Red Wings, Montreal Canadiens, and Toronto Maple Leafs. The team attained success early on under the guidance of Lester Patrick, who coached a team containing Frank Boucher, Murray Murdoch, and Bun and Bill Cook to Stanley Cup glory in only their second season. They were the first NHL franchise in the United States to win the trophy and are still the fastest true expansion team in NHL history to do so. The team would then go on to win 2 additional Stanley Cups in 1933 and 1940. Following this initial grace period, the franchise struggled between the 1940s and 1960s, wherein playoff appearances and successes were infrequent. The team enjoyed a mini renaissance in the 1970s, where they made the Stanley Cup Finals twice, losing to the Bruins in 1972 and the Canadiens in 1979. The Rangers subsequently embraced a rebuild for much of the 1980s and early 1990s, which eventually paid dividends in 1994, where the team, led by Mark Messier, Brian Leetch, Adam Graves, and Mike Richter, captured their 4th Stanley Cup. The team was unable to duplicate that success in the years that followed and entered into another period of mediocrity. They endured a franchise record 7-year postseason drought from 1998 to 2005 and languished for the majority of the 2000s before enjoying another period of prosperity after the 2004-05 NHL lockout. After the arrival of goaltender Henrik Lundqvist, the Rangers thrived, missing the playoffs just once between 2006 and 2017. They reached the Stanley Cup Finals in 2014, falling to the Los Angeles Kings in 5 games. Several former members of the Rangers have been inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, 4 of whom, Buddy O'Connor, Chuck Rayner, Andy Bathgate, and Messier, have won the Hart Memorial Trophy while playing for the team. Franchise history. George Louis Tex Rickard, president of Madison Square Garden, was awarded an NHL franchise for the 1926-27 season to compete with the New York Americans, who had begun play at the Garden the previous season. The Americans' early success in their inaugural season exceeded expectations, leading Rickard to pursue a second team for the Garden, despite promising the Amerks that they were going to be the only hockey team to play there. The new team was quickly nicknamed Texas Rangers. Rickard's franchise began play in the 1926-27 season. The first team crest was a horse sketched in blue carrying a cowboy waving a hockey stick aloft before being changed to the familiar Rangers in diagonal. Future Toronto Maple Leafs owner Conn Smythe was hired to assemble the team. However, he had a falling out with Rickard's hockey man Cole John S. Hammond and was fired as manager-coach on the eve of the first season. He was paid a then hefty $2,500 to leave. Smythe was replaced by Pacific Coast Hockey Association co-founder Lester Patrick. The new team Smythe assembled turned out to be a winner. The Rangers won the American Division title their first year, but lost to the Boston Bruins in the playoffs. The team's early success led to players becoming minor celebrities and fixtures in New York City's Roaring Twenties nightlife. It was during this time playing at the Garden on 49th Street, blocks away from Times Square, that the Rangers obtained their nickname the Broadway Blue Shirts. On December 13, 1929, the Rangers became the first team in the NHL to travel by plane when they hired the Curtiss Wright Corporation to fly them to Toronto for a game against the Maple Leafs, which they lost 7-6. In only the Rangers' second season, they won the 1928 Stanley Cup, defeating the Montreal Maroons 3-2. One of the most memorable stories that emerged from the finals involved Patrick playing in goal at the age of 44. At the time, teams were not required to dress a backup goaltender. When the Rangers' starting goaltender, Lorne Chabot, left a game with an eye injury, Maroons head coach Eddie Girard vetoed Patrick's original choice for an emergency replacement, Alex Connell of the Ottawa Senators, who was in attendance. An angry Patrick lined up between the pipes for 2 periods in Game 2 of the finals, allowing 1 goal to Maroons center Nels Stewart. Frank Boucher scored the game-winning goal in overtime for New York. After a loss to the Bruins in the 1929 Stanley Cup Finals and an early struggle in the early 1930s, the Rangers, led by brothers Bill and Bun Cook on the right and left wings respectively, and Frank Boucher at center, defeated the Maple Leafs in the 1933 best-of-5 finals 3-1 to win their second Stanley Cup. The Rangers spent the rest of the 1930s playing close to .500 hockey until their next Cup win. Lester Patrick stepped down as head coach and was replaced by Frank Boucher. In their 1939-40 season, the Rangers finished the regular season in second place behind Boston. The two teams then met in the first round of the playoffs. The Bruins gained a 2-1 series lead from New York, but the Rangers recovered to win 3 straight games, defeating the first-place Bruins 4-2. The Rangers' first-round victory gave them a bye until the finals. The Detroit Red Wings defeated the New York Americans in their first-round best-of-3 series 2-1, and the Toronto Maple Leafs ousted the Chicago Blackhawks 2-0. The Maple Leafs then swept Detroit a best-of-3 series to advance to the finals. The 1940 Cup Finals commenced in Madison Square Garden. In Game 1, the Rangers needed overtime to gain a 1-0 series lead, but they won Game 2 more easily with a 6-2 victory. The series then shifted to Toronto, where the Maple Leafs won the next 2 games, tying the series at 2 games apiece. In Games 5 and 6, the Rangers won in overtime, taking the series 4-2 to earn their 3rd Stanley Cup. However, the Rangers collapsed by the mid-1940s, losing games by scores as lopsided as 15-0. In 1943-44, goaltender Ken McCauley led the league with 39 losses and 310 goals allowed in 50 games played. His .624 goals against average that year remains the worst in NHL history by a goaltender playing at least 25 games in a season. They missed the playoffs for 5 consecutive seasons before earning the 4th and final playoff spot in 1947-48. They lost in the first round and missed the playoffs again in 1948-49. In the 1950 Stanley Cup Finals, the Rangers were forced to play all of their games, including home games, in Toronto, while the circus was held at the Garden. They lost to the Detroit Red Wings in overtime in the 7th game of the finals. During this time, Red Wings owner James E. Norris became the largest stockholder in the Garden. However, he did not buy controlling interest in the arena, which would have violated the NHL's rule against one person owning more than one team. Nonetheless, he had enough support on the board to exercise de facto control. The Rangers remained a mark of futility in the NHL for most of the remainder of the original 6 era, missing the playoffs in 12 of the next 16 years. However, the team was rejuvenated in the late 1960s, symbolized by moving into the 4th version of Madison Square Garden in 1968. A year earlier, they made the playoffs for the first time in 5 years on the strength of rookie goaltender Eddie Giacomine and 37-year-old former 1950s Montreal Canadiens star right-wing Bernie Boom Boom Geoffrion, signed out of retirement in 1966. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the next video you want to see.